Hey hotties, how you healing? How you feeling? I'm Zenzi. That little sleepy baby is Midge, and this is Hotties Heal. So first I'd like to start by saying welcome or welcome back if you're not new here. It's been a minute since I've actually sat down and recorded, and I feel like the topic I've chosen to talk about, the topic that's bringing me out of retirement, even though I haven't been gone for that long, it's pretty apropos because it's imposter syndrome. Woo! Confetti, confetti, confetti. Oh man. So if you ask me on the surface if imposter syndrome was why I haven't recorded in a hot minute, I would probably say no. But once we dig a little deeper into what imposter syndrome actually is, I think it can correlate. Realistically, the reason I haven't been on is just because I started a new job and I've been learning some new things and I just haven't really felt motivated. But burnout can be related to imposter syndrome. But as I said, I'll get into that. First, I would just want to start by clarifying what imposter syndrome actually is for those of you in the back who maybe don't know that you have it. Hi, my name is Zen Viola, and I am recovering from imposter syndrome. Nice to meet you. Welcome. So anyway, let's get this party started. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern in which people basically do not consider their accomplishments and have an extensive fear of being exposed as like a fraudulent person. And this is usually despite external evidence of competence. This can manifest in many ways. Self-doubt, essentially believing that you're not capable and competent, or on the opposite end, attributing your success to luck or the help of others instead of your actual talent. Fear of exposure, which, I mean, can seem so silly, but like, once again, feeling fraudulent or like feeling like someone's going to prove that you're not actually the person that you say that you are or that you're perceived as being. Here's a rough one for me. Perfectionism. Yeah, nobody's perfect. We all gotta work it again and again until we get it right. Thank you, Miley. Thank you, Hannah Montana, for that. And lastly, and this is something that I feel like shy people or like it like goes under their radar a little bit, but discounting praise, like sort of brushing off compliments and things of that nature. Yeah, that's one of them too. And honestly, all of these behaviors, in my professional opinion, with no professionalism in psychology at all other than just my own experience and reading. But anyway, I got off on a little bit of a tangent. These are all symptoms to me of self-sabotage. And self-sabotage is something that I think I can only speak from my own experience, obviously, but this is where it gets in on my life the most because it's like this subconscious thing that just really sneaks up on you. You really have to be aware of your limiting patterns and beliefs in order to even recognize that you're self-sabotaging. Otherwise, you're just martyring yourself and it just becomes this repetitive cycle that you continue to perpetuate because you think, oh, this is something that always happens, so you're going to create a scenario that leads to that outcome, which then just reiterates this idea that you are not worthy, lovable, capable, etc., etc. This is why it's so important to just be aware of the stories that we're telling ourselves, like me included. I feel as though, and I can go more deeply into this in another video because I feel like it is a topic within itself, but we are basically living in a story that we are creating. So what is it that you, me, what are we telling ourselves that potentially is hindering our growth and our ability to succeed? Just being more aware of those things, because the reality of living the life that we live is it's always going to be from the perspective of oneself. So how are you viewing yourself, and how are you viewing yourself in the way that you interact with the world? It honestly always just boils down to, being more positive, being more compassionate, being more forthright, being less offended and less self-centered while also centering self. It's a little bit of a paradox, but such is life. C'est la vie. But a little fun fact about imposter syndrome is that it can really happen to anyone. Like, no one is safe from this. So I feel like a lot of high achievers especially have this, struggle with this. Most of them do, because it's this idea that, once again, your success is based on your external achievements without actually acknowledging all of the things that you've actually achieved. This behavior can lead to a lot of fear, anxiety, and stress and lack of confidence, because it's like this constant gaslighting yourself, thinking that you need to be doing more, or you haven't done enough, and then this fearful cycle where you're burning out and then you're not showing up as your best self. It's very problematic, you know what I mean? So I guess my advice would be, when you notice yourself doing that, check in, figure out what you need. Like, if you've taken on too much, maybe be honest with yourself and with others and say, hey, I've taken on too much and I don't feel as though I can show up as my best self. So I need to take some me time, like reprioritize, do things that scare you in the case where you're like fearful of failure, so you don't do it at all, which then makes you feel shame, which makes you feel like a failure. It's like, it's that tumbling stone that turns into an avalanche of just negative self-talk. It all comes back to how you're talking to yourself, and that's my advice, I guess. To sum it up, let me sum it up. Be nicer to yourself, and if you hear yourself or notice yourself saying mean things to yourself or creating a negative outcome based on something that you're involved in, change the narrative. What is the worst thing that can happen if you just decide to be overly positive and delusional for a day? The term fake it till you make it didn't just come out of thin air. You know what I mean? Everything takes practice, nothing happens overnight. Have more realistic expectations and give yourself compassion and love, and show that to the world around you as well, because we're all just humans walking around on a floating rock thinking that we're the only ones who exist out here, which is just absolutely ludicrous. So we can just boil it down to every negative thing happening just being ludicrous, and essentially choosing to accept what is and err on the side of positivity. And I'm not speaking about toxic positivity, but sometimes you just have to give yourself a little grace and give yourself a little compassion, and understand that nothing and no one is perfect, and that good and bad, light and dark, are always going to exist. Two things can be true at once, and I think once you can understand that and you don't have to like focus so much on an outcome, that's when things start to just get a little bit better for everyone. So basically that's all I have for today. I'm not sure if it was linear at all, but neither is life. So that's sort of what I'm aiming for. Anyway, sidebar for all the curly girlies out there and natural girlies, like, look at this shrinkage. If you know how to do anything, like, please help a sister out. This is a flexi rod set. Should I just get longer rods? I don't know. Anyone? Tell me what to do. Come to my house and do it for me. I don't know. Great. Okay, anyway, thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Midge says bye too.